Welcome to Mic Drop, the podcast where relevancy is irrelevant and we don't give a shit about your feelings.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. This is the part 2 installment of the Q&A session. We had so many questions that I didn't want to sit here for 3.5 hours like I do when I have my guests and bore you to tears with it. I wanted to break it up a little bit, but I'm going to get right back into it. So we're just continuing to go down the list here, and we're gonna rock and roll. All right, so Austin Stuco asks, what are some things you have learned when it comes to starting, building, and maintaining a business? That's a great question, and I'll tell you, almost everything that I have learned the absolute fucking hard way. I do not have an MBA in anything, or from anywhere, rather. Here's the gist, to briefly synopsize, what it is that number one, you've got to understand that just having a good idea isn't enough. Just having the capital to start it isn't enough. Just having passion to want to be successful isn't enough. Those things are important, and I would say, frankly, imperative, is that you have to have all of those things, but just having that isn't enough. What I've come to learn is that, the demand that exists, unless you are fucking brilliant, where you're coming up with a product that is going to create demand for itself, which is an anomaly, is that you've got to know what is your target market. And more importantly, this is the biggest thing, is how many of them are there? If there's 12 people that are probably going to be interested in whatever the fuck it is that you're looking to produce, guess what? You're not going to be in business very long. And I see that all the time, and I've even learned that the hard way, is that, you can pick any business and there's different paths of acquiring revenue streams in those different industries and types of businesses that are far more lucrative in terms of the juice being worth the squeeze, or from a cost-benefit analysis standpoint, than others. And you have to identify what that is, and you have to say to yourself, does that make sense? Does what it's going to take from a time, money, resources, manpower, logistics standpoint is what that's going to take to accomplish getting this product out there and making sure customer service is nailed and the customer experience is appropriate, and that everybody is happy, and that you have the ability to continue to make that product, and you're not overstocking too much inventory, but you're not having customers wait for 6 months for a product. Things that, again, I've learned the hard way in just about every regard. Is that, can you pull all that off? One, and number two is, if you can, is it actually going to be fucking worth it? And to me, those are all questions you've got to answer, and have answered, and have yeses to every one of them before you even consider starting a business. Because if you can't, you're going to fail. And that's why most businesses fail, in my opinion, is that they have a really great idea and you're like, man, this would be awesome. And it's like, yeah, I would buy that if I was me, and all my friends would. But when you look at the broader spectrum of, okay, the 330 million Americans, or, even if you're looking at the 7 billion customers, is what kind of percentage of those customers are actually going to buy your bullshit? And if it's a really, really low number, then your acquisition rate needs to be super fucking high, and it's probably not going to be. If you're extremely lucky, you'll get 10% of the people you're targeting to actually buy your shit. So if that number is inherently low to begin with, I got shitty news for you. You're not going to sell very many of them. So to me, that's probably the biggest element in terms of starting it. Now, building and maintaining, accounting. Hands fucking down, keep track of your shit, and pay whatever you need to pay to have somebody that's overqualified for the level of your business to keep track of your books, to, whether it's profit and loss statements or accounting sheets or, cash flow projections, things of that nature, is that you have got to have somebody that has their arms around that in a huge fucking way and will keep your shit straight. Because if you're wasting money, or you don't know where it goes, or you can't keep track of your shit, that's the fastest way, once you have a solid business built, that it's going to fail, is to not be keeping track of your shit. The other thing is expectations. Good people are hard to find, and one of my biggest problems is coming out of the military and working with the guys that I had worked with. You can't have those same level of expectations, but you can't have the same level of expectations really with anybody. Is that you have to understand nobody's perfect. Everybody's going to need some coaching, myself included, and that don't take every fucking thing personally. Like you can't expect every single employee to have an A game 25 hours a day. It's not going to happen. Have expectations, make sure that job descriptions are understood and lanes are understood in terms of what each person's responsibility is. And then above and beyond that is make sure that everybody involved in your business knows where the fuck you're trying to go. If you don't know that, how the fuck are you going to get there? And that's from the business owner all the way down to the lowest part-time employee that has the littlest impact on any of your operations. Is that everybody, whether it's a one-page cheese deck laminated mission statement or just making sure that everybody knows, hey, this is what we do here, this is how we do it, and this is where we're trying to fucking go, and together we're going to get there. If that's not happening, again, shitty news flash is you're going to have a hard time getting there. If you don't know where you want to go, or your people don't know where they want to go, and they don't know why the fuck they're doing what they're doing, you're probably not going to retain them very long, and they're not going to help you get there because they don't even know where the fuck that is. They don't know where there is. That is an oversimplification and kind of a synopsis. I don't want to spend 2 hours talking about building a business, but those have been the kind of textbook key arch lessons that I've learned over the years, and I can tell you every fucking one of them I've learned the hard way, and unfortunately sometimes more than once. But maybe I'll do another business podcast at some point, episode or episodes occasionally. But Patrick.Croteau90, love your podcast. What's the toughest obstacle you had to overcome when you left the military? What's your advice for military veterans struggling to find new meaning in civilian life? Great question, Patrick. I just actually mentioned it as my biggest thing to overcome was half of it is expectations, is realizing that, hey, you're not in the military anymore, and the people that you deal with and interact with day to day aren't wired the same way as you, and they're not going to respond to the, hey, fuckface, how about we take this behind the berm, every time you have a problem with somebody. That doesn't generally work well with most people. I think it should. I think it would solve a lot of fucking problems, and there'd be a lot less bullshit. But you have to understand is that you may have nobody working for you if you treat everybody like they're a white shirt showing up at Bud's for the first time and you're getting ready to kick them in the dick. So you've got to tamper and scale your expectations back a little bit that are a little more appropriate for your average everyday American citizen. In terms of my advice for struggling veterans getting out. To me, the simplest way I can put it is purpose. To me, the meaning of life is purpose, and it really is. That is the foundation, or should be, of your life. Is that if every day when you get up, there's a fucking reason behind it, and a good reason. One that makes you want to get out of bed, that makes you want to work hard, that makes you want to accomplish whatever the fuck it is. That's what's going to make you happy is the struggle, and then ultimately the ability to overcome that struggle and accomplish what your fucking purpose is. That's what makes you happy. That's what makes everybody happy. Because the reason I can tell you that that's a fact is that that is why there are homeless people that are the happiest sons of bitches you've ever met. And there are people with $4 billion in their bank account that are the most miserable fucking wretches you've ever come across in your life, and that are total dicks, because it's not money and cars and houses and other shit that's going to make you happy. Now, let's flip the realism table over for a second, and that if you are in a position where you have purpose and it's making you successful and you're making a good living, then yes, having those extra resources is going to make it easier to be happy and be more purposeful. Don't get that twisted, is that we all want to be able to go on vacations and buy nice shit and have fun and be able to go out to dinner when we want and things like that. But that is empty if there's nothing driving that other than just the sake of collecting shit and being wealthy, because that isn't going to make you happy. But so find something that you're purpose driven about, and then figure out a way to be financially successful in doing so. To me, that's the secret to life. Vander.the.German Shepherd. Favorite optic during your time in theater? ACOG, Aimpoint, EOTech, none of the above. Trijicon fucking Reflex. Hands down my favorite sight. It's on every one of my long guns currently, and until something comes out that kicks its ass, that's what'll be on there. All right. So Alan Moore, 15. You're not the only one. I've gotten a bunch of these questions. Hey, Mike, do you care to share any thoughts about Brandon Webb, soft rep, and the helmet cam footage fallout? All right. I've had a ton of people ask me both about Brandon, about soft rep, about this footage stuff. Here's my take on the footage. Actually, here's my take on, in terms of my relationship with Brandon, et cetera. I'm not here to talk about people that are in my life personally or otherwise. All I'm going to say is that I am not affiliated with him in any fashion whatsoever. That's all I'm going to say about it. On the footage, the fallout from the footage, a lot of people have asked me my take on it. My take on it is very simply that, in terms of the First Amendment, is what was published, was it legal? Yes, it was. And again, that's the free speech thing. Do I think it was right? No, I don't. In my opinion, footage like that should not be up to news outlets to determine, whether or not it should be posted. I just don't. No, I don't think they should go to jail for it or be forced to take it down. Just like, I don't think you can mandate fucking manners. You can't make it against the law to be an asshole. And I don't think you should try, frankly, because it's impossible. But, to me, 100%, that should be up to the family. If the family and everybody's family who's involved in that video says, you know what, yes, we want this to be public and we want this organization to put it out there, then that's their call. And it should remain their call, not just in this case, but in every one of them. That's how I see that. Again, it shouldn't be illegal, but if it's me, I think it should be up to the family. That's all I'm going to say on it. All right. Biscuit and the Bean says, since you ask all your guests this question, I like to know what your defining moment was. When did you know you wanted to be a SEAL and that you wanted to work with working dogs for a living? I don't know that I'd necessarily call it a defining moment. It was a combination of three main components in high school. One was getting my ass beat, like I talked about in the last in the first installment of this episode. The second one, strangely enough, was reading a Popular Mechanics article, which I actually still have the magazine. But it was an article about the SEAL teams, what they did, the weapons they used, missions they go on, whatever. And since I grew up as a competitive swimmer in Iowa since the time I was 5, it just seemed like a good fit. My grandpa was in the Navy. My mom had some influence there in saying, because I had originally told her and my best friend at the time we were going to go be Rangers, and she liked the Navy route option, and I did listen to my mom back then. I still do, but. So anyway, that was the second component. And then the third one was just, I've always been really competitive, and, hearing and reading that, SEAL training is the toughest military training the U.S. has to offer, which of course that's always going to be debated by any of the other soft groups. But it was a combination of those things. It wasn't really a defining like, holy shit, now I know what I want to do. It was a process, and over that, kind of sophomore and junior year of my high school days, that's what contributed to that. In terms of when I wanted to work with working dogs, again, it's in the Trident Canine Warriors book. I talk about it at length, but always grew up a dog guy. There was a bomb dog, a Marine bomb dog overseas that was operating in the area that we were at that I had heard about that saved some guys' lives, and that was for me like, holy shit, why aren't we using dogs? And made me really, really interested in them, and that's how that transpired. All right, so Traveling Medic asks, what was going through your mind when you were holding on to the boat underwater in Buds? So honestly, I thought I was going to die. And what's strange is, and I don't mean this, again, God, I hope it doesn't come across as me being arrogant, is that there was actually kind of a peacefulness to it a little bit. At first, it was a little bit of panic. But when it just kind of settled and stayed there and I couldn't hear anything and nothing was moving and whatever, it actually, there was a little bit of just kind of a calming effect that it was just like, well, fuck, I guess this is it. And to a certain extent, I mean, I wouldn't say that I was okay with it, but it was like, well, I died trying to accomplish, the biggest goal in my life at the time. And I was giving it everything I had, and I'm going out, surrounded by, at that time, those were my brothers, and there was kind of an easiness to it a little bit, but that was kind of it. It was a little bit of a combination of life flashing before my eyes, like holy fuck, and then I was like, well, yeah, this is it. I'm probably gonna not make it out of this one. Pretty sobering experience for sure. All right, J. Galvin asks, when going through buds and even post buds, was there ever a time you felt like you couldn't do something? Like, was there a challenge you didn't think you could rise to, but somehow did? Can you talk us through the process in which you did overcome that obstacle? The follow-on is, was there a challenge you didn't think you could rise to, but somehow did? There was a lot of times where there was some self-doubt. There was I would say that the biggest, kind of obstacle, or where I really kind of felt like I couldn't do it, was when I got rolled. I started with class 214. I made it all the way to a week before going to San Clemente Island. But I pinched my sciatic nerve doing land navigation up at Laguna. And the course, it's like a 6-hour land nav course, and I don't remember how many points it is, but you have, I think it was either 4 or 6 hours to complete this course. And I pinched my sciatic nerve about halfway through it, and it slowed me way down. You're carrying a big heavy rucksack up mountains and all this other shit, trying to navigate your way. And so I was injured, and I'll never forget, I saw the finish line, and I came flying. I was running, limping, hobbling like an asshole across the finish line. And I had missed the cutoff literally by, it was seconds. It was like 17 fucking seconds out of 4 or 6 hours that I came across late. And I will never fucking forget, the instructor cadre, looked at their watch, looked at me, and they're like, Ritland, fail. I was like, what? And they're like, fail. Take your shit off, grab an MRE, go sit over by that tree. You got 15 minutes, and then you're going to go do it again. And I was just like, oh my fucking God. Because it was everything I had, so it was like I crossed the finish line, thinking I had just finished a marathon, and frankly felt even worse than finishing one, and had missed it by that much, knew I was injured, and knew I was fucked, frankly, and also knew that I had to go try it again in 15 minutes. And I did. I went and did it again, and I failed again, but it was, that was tough, really tough. Because I did. I felt like a failure, and I felt like there's no way I'm going to make this. I'm hurt. I couldn't make it when I was healthy for half of it. I'm worn the fuck out. Now I got to go do it again right after this, and that was tough. It was humbling for sure. And I failed, and then ended up failing everything from that point on, and ended up getting rolled because of failing everything because of my injury. Got healed up, came back, and finished with 215 and graduated. But that was tough. So how did I overcome it? I just kept driving. And then that's my advice to anybody who wants to hear it is, I don't care how, two things. I don't care how bad shit gets. It can always get worse. And number two is that, you just have to keep going. The one single common denominator between people that are successful and people that aren't, never give up on themselves. You've just got to keep hammering it out. And keep trying, keep going, put your nose to the grindstone, and just don't ever fucking stop driving. Just continue to get after it. Gypsy_love 89. Funniest nicknames you had or heard, how they got them. Thanks for the show. I'm just going to talk about my nickname. There's, I would say almost every team guy and people that I've worked with have some funny ass nicknames, but as to not divulge that and who they are, my nickname, and it started in the SEAL qualification training, or SEAL tactical training, which is what it was called back when I went through. Back in my day, it was Mikey Big Balls. I don't have exceptionally large testicles, and I'm damn sure not the bravest guy in the platoon. I don't know why the fuck they called me that. I think it just had a ring to it, and people thought it was funny. But yeah, Mikey Big Balls was or just Big Balls was my nickname, and in the platoons, and it just kind of stuck. There's still a handful of guys that to this day that when I answer the phone, that's the first thing I fucking hear is Big Balls. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's all I'm going to share on it. Zachary Bolware asks, favorite concealed carry holster for your Glocks. It kind of depends on which one I'm carrying, but I would say overwhelmingly the G code holsters. G code. They're synthetic, or Kydex rather, and they've got like this kind of felt type material that they're coated in that just makes it really comfortable and absorbs sweat, which I know is kind of nasty, but that's the reality of it. They're comfortable. They've got a nice big fat clip that's easy to put inside the waist or to take it out fast, but good retention. And they're just nice holsters. And I think it's a former Marine owns the company, if I'm not mistaken, but good shit. All right, Bailey R. Hoff. What kind of training do you think one should be doing before buds? The biggest thing is more running than most people think. I think CrossFit is good. I would do more of the body weight type exercises and not focus quite so much on the heavy lifts. Do some, but you need body to weight strength, or body to weight ratio strength, moving your own body weight around, pulling up obstacle course, body weight squats, lunges, buddy carries. You're going to have to be moving your own weight around a lot. So do a lot of that. And also do way more running than you think you need to. You're going to run 6 miles a day just to eat food. It's a mile away. The chow hall's a mile away. So a mile there, a mile back, 3 times a day, just at a minimum. So just be smart about it. Don't show up with stress fractures and your lower body all hammered to shit. Be a little careful about it. A. Kappelman asks, have you or any of your SEAL brethren had any shared experiences with the Coast Guard? A lot of motherfuckers here that legitimately believe the U.S. Coast Guard is not a military branch. We need clarification brought to the people from Mic Drop. Fucking puddle pirates. What? No, of course the Coast Guard is a branch. They play an integral role in the security of our country and provide an enormous capability that way. I absolutely have respect for them. We all like to fuck with one another. The Marines, it's the fucking it's Department of the Navy. It's the men's department, or, Air Forces, 5-star hotels and, whatever. I mean, we all fuck with each other. At the end of the day, yes, it's a legitimate branch, at least in my opinion. And I got mad respect for them, for the puddle pirates out there. I love you guys and ladies. Who we kidding? Caitlin 22390. What are your current goals and future goals professionally for the Warrior Dog Foundation? Great question. For me, it's to continue to be a resource for any military or police or federal, state, local law enforcement, Customs, Border Patrol, you name it. Any working service dog that has served this country. If they need to be rehomed to avoid being euthanized after their service, I want to continue to provide and be a resource for that. Number one. Number two is to grow in that capacity and capability, to be able to maybe have an East Coast branch and a West Coast branch, to accommodate even more of those. If you guys want to help out, by all means, go to warriordogfoundation.org and donate. Doing great things and proud to be a part of that group. So those are my goals. D_Rush16. Do you find it easy to separate home life and business, or was that something you had to work on personally, as well as some good ways to make sure that both are being taken care of equally? I would say that I did not do a good job at not separating it so much, but dedicating enough time to my home life. For me, as a very competitive guy, and I think this will translate for a lot of type A personality men who are fathers, husbands, etc. out there. For me, I think I always, whether it was subconscious or even really thinking about it consciously, it was that when I think of myself as a protector and provider, staying in good shape and being able to provide for my family was always my primary goal. And I think that guys like me find it difficult to be able to scale that appropriately and not focus so much time and energy on being successful and quote unquote making it. I know for me that's where it came from, is that I feel like my heart was in a good place and I always wanted nothing but the best for them. And in doing that, you I think get a little bit blinded by trying to be successful and trying to make it, and ignoring some of the most important things about being there for your family, which is being present and making that a priority, and making time, and tampering your attitude and your temper or your short fuse because you're busy working on something that you've almost got this deal to go through, or this project at work, or you're trying to get a promotion or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say blow that shit off and just be a family man and fuck everything else. No, because you do have to be a provider, and that is not easy. When people are depending on you for resources and money and the ability to provide, like you should and need to take that fucking serious. But you can't take it so serious to where everything else fails, and that is a dicey fucking rope to walk. One that I don't think I did an adequate job with, frankly, and have paid for it. But again, I don't want to sit here and have fucking regrets. I learn from everything that hasn't gone exactly how I wanted it to go, and I take those lessons into the future and make goddamn sure that doesn't continue to happen. So that's it. It's separating it. It's almost for me. It was almost impossible. It was very hard, and I did not do as good a job as I should and could have. And that would be my advice: is that make it work. Satisfy the priority of having to ensure that you can provide, but also satisfy the relationships that you have to make sure are there and good and wholesome and fed, so that they don't suffer. And because ultimately, if they're not there, then what's the fucking point? So make time, get up earlier, and figure it out. All right, Western Massacre asks, Mike, first off, much respect for your service. My question is this: I'm a liberal Democrat. Sorry to hear that. But I'm also pro-gun. That's fucking twisted. Odd, I know. I agree wholeheartedly that gun control is pointless. However, I'm struggling with the notion of teachers carrying. How do you feel is the best way to help prevent school shootings? There's another question or two on school shootings. But first off, you sound confused, Western Massacre. But to me, the gist of it is that there isn't a single point answer. Andy Stumpf and I talked about this on our podcast on the 4th of July. If you haven't listened, I encourage you to check it out. But, ultimately the schools have to take accountability because it's their school, and every one of them is going to be different in terms of how big they are, what their resources are, their budgets, et cetera. How do we prevent them? I think, and this is a long game solution, but I think it starts at home. You can't ignore the fact that, guns are actually the hardest to get a hold of now. And I know plenty of liberal assholes out there would start laughing and want to jump right in and fucking interrupt me and argue that it's too easy to get guns and shit. Here's the reality, folks, is that from the time our country started until now, it's progressively gotten harder and harder and more regulated to get weapons. Yet shit like that, it happens with more and more frequency. So to me, that's not the fucking answer. Obviously, I actually think that that's part of the problem, is that there's a stigma attached, and that most people that I know who are fanatically anti-gun have never fucking shot one. And so to me, that I think there's a stigma attached, and that there's a lot of misunderstandings. And so more people need to know, what they're really like and how they're used and things of that nature. Is that, even 30, 40 years ago, kids had guns in their cars in school parking lots and in certain parts of the country. They had hunting rifles, on rifle racks in their fucking truck windows. It's not an issue of things being too easy to get a hold of or not. To me, it's a simple fact of that, too many kids are fucking bored, where they don't have enough responsibility, and they have parents that are helicoptering them and trying to make environments that are impossible for them to learn the hard way. To me, you've got to be scaled in your approach and have the amount of stress and danger, that they're surrounded by be appropriate, and to where they're not going to, push the envelope too hard. But just like with everything else, is how do you build confidence? Well, you go through things that are hard and overcome them. How do you learn how to not hurt yourself with kitchen knives and power tools and shit? I mean, those aren't locked up. Kids could kill each other with pills and with Drano and with fucking, power drills and kitchen knives and shit, those are right there. They're readily accessible. They're taught not to fuck with them, or if they're going to handle them, how to do it safely. That's step one. And then the other part is that, kids are too bored. They have too much free time to sit around and get fucking depressed over things they've got no business being depressed about, in my opinion. Put them to fucking work. I don't care if it's moving one pile of gravel from one side of your yard to the other side of the yard and then moving the fucking thing back. Is that, just like a dog, when that motherfucker's tired, he's not going to give you nearly as much shit than when he's busting out of the crate ready to go, full of piss and vinegar. Wear their asses out, teach them the value of hard work, teach them to respect both authority, you as a parent, and their teachers, and humans, and life, and animals in general. And then last but not least, feed them properly. When a kid is developing and their brains and their central nervous system are growing, Cheetos and a fucking Capri Sun is not a lunch. It's no wonder they're fucking crazy half the time, is that when you feed them bullshit and they have no mental or physical stimulation and they go fucking crazy. So stop doing it. To me, that's where it needs to start, and that is a long game approach. But I think that's why there's the issues that they are. That's my take on it. All right. Hanson Risa asks, what is your greatest strength and your greatest challenge as a parent? What values do you try to instill in your children? What's your routine when you meet your children's dates? All right. So greatest challenge, is kind of like what I was talking about earlier, is balancing things and making sure that I spend the proper and appropriate amount of time teaching them. To me, your job as a parent is to, at a bare minimum, is to not raise a dependent little dipshit. That, like, if you're not at least doing that, then you shouldn't be having kids. That's step one. Step two, in terms of where the challenge for me exists, is teaching them, and that's one that I spend an bordering on absurd amount of time explaining things to my kids, sometimes over and over and over. But to me, that is our job as parents, is to fucking teach your kids. Teach them how to be good, productive members of society. Teach them the difference between right and wrong. Teach them why work ethic fucking matters. Teach them why you should help people, even if sometimes they don't fucking deserve to be helped. Teach them the value of life. Teach them to respect animals. Teach them to appreciate every fucking thing that they get and to respect all of it. Teach them where food comes from. Teach them that money isn't the answer to everything. Teach them that an iPad is not a substitute for a fucking parent. To me, it's the hard lessons that you've got to teach your kids over and over and over, and expose them to things, that are going to challenge them, that they're going to fail at. Things that are going to stress them out. It needs to be calculated. You can't have them drink from a fire hose and throw them into a fucking lion's den, but you've got to test them and stress them out and let them fail. You can't protect them from everything. Again, it goes back to the kitchen knives thing, is that, that's the disparity between guns and knives, is that, knives are readily available. You teach them not to fucking hurt each other with them. And this is one of the arguments I've heard, is that, in trying to take guns away, is that I've seen people say, well, if your children are on a playground and they're hitting each other with sticks, you take the sticks away. It's not that complicated. And to me, that's just plain and simple. That's the dumb, wrong fucking answer. Is that, no, I'm going to give everybody a stick and you're all going to stand next to each other, and I'm going to teach you little assholes not to hit each other with them. And so to me, that's what being a parent really needs to be about, is not being their best friend, not showing them how to dress cool or make sure that they have a bunch of shit they don't need. It's value your stuff, be respectful, work hard, know the value of things, and appreciate what you have, and teach them how to be good members of society, productive members of society that are actually going to be an asset, not a fucking liability. In terms of what's my routine when I meet their children's dates, here's another thing that I think a lot of people misconstrue or get wrong in terms of their initial impression of who I am as a father. Is that, oh, you're a SEAL and you got daughters, and I'll bet you're going to be cleaning your shotgun. No, Absolutely fucking not. To me, I'm going to give my kids the benefit of the fucking doubt. And it's my job to make sure that I've taught them well enough to use their fucking head and make good decisions and know who to hang out with and who not to hang out with, that when they bring somebody home, I should be secure enough as their dad and have done a good enough fucking job making sure that they're not bringing some dipshit home, that I can trust their judgment, in that they have brought a nice person home. Because if they haven't and I need to jump in the second I meet them, then I have failed, frankly. To me, if you've got to sit there with a fucking shotgun, you've done something fucking wrong, in my opinion. That's not how it should be. Like I can tell you right now, I'm going to shake that motherfucker's hand. I'm going to look him straight in the eye, and he's going to know right then and there that I'm not going to fuck around. But I'll tell you right now is that I don't want to start off by threatening a guy or a girl, whatever. That's not how it should be, in my opinion. So my quote unquote routine is to be respectful. Respect my children's judgment in terms of who they're hanging out with. If I need to step in, rest assured I will, but I'm not going to start out that way. I'm not going to start out by undercutting my kids and showing them that I don't trust them. Because I think A, if I have to do that, I haven't done my job, and B, that's not going to do shit but hurt our relationship if they think I don't trust them. So not much of a routine other than I'm going to treat them the same way I start out treating everybody else, which is with respect, and I'm going to mirror how they treat me. TNT041 asked, do you ever seek out firearms classes to stay sharp? If so, what instructors do you feel would be good training with? No, I know everything. I'm a crack shot and I don't need help ever. I'm fucking with you. I wouldn't say that I necessarily seek them out. I would recommend doing it. If so, what instructors? I mean, I do try to shoot a fair bit and stay sharp. Because of where I'm at and my level of competency. I'm not saying I'm fantastic. I'm just saying in terms of dedicating time to go seek out instructors, I would say I don't particularly. But for those of you out there, the two that come to mind, Jeff Gonzalez, who I just had with Trident Concepts down in Austin, fantastic resource, and then Matt Clear with ASDS, Active Shooter Defense School out in California, which why the fuck he still lives out there in that state trying to shoot and teach classes is beyond me. Hats off to you, Matt. But both those guys are really good resources for learning how to shoot. Not just teaching you how to hit paper, but good practical application with concealed carry type classes and realistic training scenarios. Both very, very good instructors. Tank Girl Val Jones asks, what's the hardest part of being in the military, physical or mental? Mental, hands down. I'd say it's 90% mental, 10% physical. Mark_Pollock, what do you think is the best way to get through to young people, teenagers, to teach them principles of never quitting, persevering through hardship? To me, unquestionably, it's kind of like what I was talking about with kids is, generally speaking, is that number one is you've got to show them. You can't be a do as I say, not as I do parent and sit on your fat ass on the couch and expect them to go run cross country and kick ass, and you just stand there screaming like the fat soccer mom from the side. Like if you're doing that, fuck you, frankly, because you're not teaching your kid anything other than to fucking despise you. So you need to get out there, and when you're tired, get off your ass and finish the job. When you feel a little discouraged, let them know you're discouraged. Let them see you be discouraged, and then get off your ass and fucking persevere. You have got to set that example, because if you don't, I don't give a shit what you say, is they're gonna cut through that bullshit. Anybody who's a parent knows that kids will see through your bullshit real quick past the age of about 6. You're not fooling them. So you've got to be the example for them that you want to instill in them. That's first and foremost. And then number 2 is, just like I was saying earlier, is you've got to be able to it's got to be appropriate and graduated and scaled properly, but you've got to let them fail. You've got to challenge them. You've got to let them have to figure out things the hard way and work for things and show them how to do it. Help them when they need help, but don't coddle them and hold their hand and do everything for them. And that is a finesse piece. There's a nuance there that can be challenging, and you're not always going to get it right. There's times where you gave it to them too easy, or there's times where maybe you're a little too hard on them. God knows I have been. But that needs to be in the forefront of your mind. Number 1, be the example. Number 2, challenge them, let them fail, and teach them how to earn shit the hard way. Gregor _ way 322 _ it's a lot of underscores, Gregor. How did your parents react when you enlisted? They threw a party, bought me luggage. No, I'm kidding. They were nervous, but proud. My parents have always been, way better than me as parents. I wish I was half the fucking parents my parents are and were to us 4 kids growing up. They were always that perfect mix of being supportive, telling you when, hey, is this really the best idea? But my parents, and to this day, when I got out of the Navy and did corporate America for a short stint and then launched a dog business, I had a lot of people say, you're out of your fucking mind. Dreams don't put food on the table. You're not going to make it. You're being irresponsible as a father, as a husband. They were never that way. Never. They always, hey, you've always, done what you've always picked your path. We've always supported it, and now it's not any different. They did that with Buds. They've always done that. And I love my parents. They've really set the fucking bar way higher than I can even try to jump and grab at this point. But yeah, they were very supportive, very proud, nervous, but ultimately we're glad that I did and have always been supportive that way. Mitch Caruso 18, Mike, what is your morning routine? I know I talked about this in my health and fitness podcast, so I'll synopsize it for those of you that didn't listen. If you didn't, choke yourself and then go listen to it. Anyway, the gist of it is I get up, I drink usually about 20 ounces of water, bone broth with some CBD oil in it, coffee with MCT oil and collagen powder. Or the collagen powder I'll put in the bone broth. It just depends. And then I write. I don't write like I'm not a fucking warrior poet like some people are. By write, I write shit down that's relevant for the day, kind of panda planner style, a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of, hey, this is what I need to focus on today, make sure all my shit's in order, and then get after it. Go right into answering emails. I try not to be too active right out of the gate. That may surprise people. My body doesn't work exceptionally well first thing in the morning. So I like to drink my breakfast with nutrient-dense drinks and not eat and get bloated and whatever. Try to stick to just good, healthy fat and not a ton of carbohydrates, and then just rock and roll from there. And then as the day goes on, I get, whatever is on the schedule I handle. And then I usually work out either late morning, midday, early afternoon, generally sometime in there. And that's kind of the gist. Jerona Wood, my kid's ready to graduate Navy boot. He's got a SEAL contract. I'd like to surprise him once a month or so. Looking back, what are the top 10 items you wished you had going through training? I'm going to throw you for a loop, Jerona Wood. Don't get that motherfucker anything. Don't surprise him once a month. Write him a handwritten letter that tells him that you're fucking proud of him. And make it handwritten. Write the whole fucking thing out, and that you're thinking about him and that you support what he's doing. And don't buy him a fucking thing. If he graduates, get him something cool, a graduation gift. Top 10 items I wished I had is a good fucking attitude. And I did have a good fucking attitude. Help him with his good attitude by telling him that you're thinking of him from home and supporting him. He doesn't need shit, and that's not going to help him out any. Steve Rigby 13, do you follow a specific workout plan and you make it up as you go? Largely, I make it up as I go. I would say I use CrossFit style principles, but not enough to knock out the WOD as prescribed off the website. I do a mixture of just trying to mix it up, be functionally aware of the movements that I'm doing. Sometimes I go heavier on the cardiovascular component. Sometimes I go heavier lifting. That's generally how I do it. And even the workouts that I just started posting and I'm going to start to post, I generally make those up as I go, or I may write it out ahead of time and then adjust it a little bit while I'm going through it, depending on how it's working out for me. But I'm very fly by the seat of my fucking pants. I don't, and I'm using air quotes, program like a lot of people do. I'm not a programmer. I'm a get the fuck out there and do something and figure it out and make it happen as I go. But that's how I do it. JF Stop. Have you worked with the Polish Grom? What's your opinion? Yes, and they're fucking awesome. We took down the oil rigs with those guys back at the kickoff of the Iraq War in the Arabian Gulf, and those guys are fucking pipe hitters. Love those dudes. Sassy Sasha 918, throwing religion out the door. How is your spiritual life? Do you pray? If you don't have a spiritual life, what do you turn to at your worst? You had to fucking ask me that, Sassy Sasha, didn't you? How is my spiritual life? I'm going to quote Gaylord M. Fokker by saying it's strong to fairly strong. How is my spiritual life? That was when he was asked about his portfolio, by the way, in case you were wondering, for you non-movie buffs. Anyway, I'm being a smart ass. How is it? I wouldn't say that I'm aspiritual, but I wouldn't consider myself an exceptionally spiritual person either. I've gone through a range of emotions and thought processes as it relates to religion and spirituality. I don't pray specifically. I'm not saying that I am agnostic or atheist to 100% degree. For me, I just don't fucking know. I've seen enough things that have made me question enough to not buy it hook, line, and sinker, but I've also seen enough things to make me think, fuck, that can't be a coincidence. And so ultimately, I just don't know. And I've never had anybody be able to explain to me unequivocally either that there's for sure nothing or that there's for sure something to sway me enough to get on that fucking bandwagon, frankly. I'm happy to have a spiritual leader come on here and do it, because I tell you, I got a million fucking questions for anybody that's willing to shoot the shit with me about it. In terms of what do I turn to at my worst, this is probably going to sound arrogant. I turn to myself first, and then the people that I know, love, trust, and care about second. I try to fucking fix my own problems, and when I can't, I rely on my close friends. I don't have a ton of them. There's a handful of them. I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. There's a handful of them that I know that if I called them at any time, they would give me whatever advice or whatever thing I needed to the best of their ability, and that's kind of who I turn to is people that I trust. From my perspective, that's more practical, than talking to an energy or a spiritual being. I'm not saying they don't exist. For me, that's what works, is that I'm more of okay, this is the problem. Here's how I'm going to fucking fix it. And I try to focus on that, because to me, that's tangible. That's something I can quantify. That's something that I can put in motion and actually try to fucking, take care of business and have it have an impact. John_Slan, what's your favorite liquor, favorite grill? Favorite grill depends on what I'm grilling. I'm gonna throw 3 out there. I love my Yoder YS640. It's a pellet smoker. Fucking love that thing for my world famous beef ribs. Yoder, if you're listening, feel free to send me one of those, because they're not fucking cheap. But anyway, it's a fantastic grill. It's one of those things you get what you pay for. I'm not a Traeger fan. I know there's plenty of people that are. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but to me, Yoder is a whole different ball game when it comes to kicking ass on a smoker grill, pellet smoker. But also the Primo XL. It's like a green egg, but better because it's a big oval. So you can split it down the middle, and you can separate. It's got a firebox divider, so you can keep all of your good high quality lump charcoal on one side. So if you're doing steaks, like especially for really good high quality steaks, I'll always cook them on that, or almost always, because you can get a really good sear, whether you're reverse searing it and want to cook it to about internal and then hit a sear at the end, or get a good sear and then finish it on the other side in indirect heat. Works fantastically for that. And it's a really, really nice grill. The third one, this is my lazy, I'm in a hurry. I use the little tiny fucking Weber Smoky Joe, I think it's called. It's a $30 fucking grill. That if I'm being honest, I use that probably more than anything, because it gets hot the fastest. And when I'm just cooking something quick, I just throw some lump in there, get it going. And when the coals are looking the way they need to be, I rock and roll on it. Dan Cook 6527. If a radical terrorist stopped by your house looking for trouble, how would you go about the dispatching? Well, now, Dan, that's classified. If I tell you that, then I'm not going to give those guys the playbook. Are you a terrorist? No, there's no way I'm fucking telling you that. Nice try. Not today, ISIS. Not today. Yeah, come over and find out. How about that? JC_NYC. What is your balance drinking in your diet? What do you prefer, beer or liquor? I don't drink a whole lot. My balance with diet is that shit isn't going to do you any favors. So try to limit it. If you are going to drink, if I am going to drink, I typically drink bourbon, even though, in my opinion, doing like a gin or a tequila or something vodka clear is probably a better option. But I love bourbon. I like to drink liquor when it's cold next to a fire. And I like to drink really cold, strong IPAs when it's hot as fuck and I'm thirsty. But again, I try not to drink, more than a few times a month, just to try to balance that out and not, I'm not going to come home and have a sixer every night. That's not really my jam. Kevlar_TV, love to hear about your smoking grilling setup. I already talked about that a little bit. What temps do you cook the beef? 275. That is the secret. 275 degrees is going to kick everybody's ass. That's where you need to be at. Hunter W, what are some of your favorite moves to use in a fight? All right. The crane from Karate Kid is my go-to move. The Kung Fu grip is another good one, G.I. Joe style. No, I mean, seriously, what are my go-to moves? I don't have any. I try to avoid getting in fights as much as possible, and I don't have any favorite moves. It's whatever's gonna work and get the job done the quickest. Bird Art 12, who are your heroes? Who do you look up to and try to be more like, and why? My heroes are my fallen comrades, hands fucking down. Those guys are the reason that I'm here, and they're the reason that all of us are here. They will always be my heroes. The Glenn Doherty, the Ty Woods, the Jason Freewald, the Matt Mills, the Dave Scotts, the Tom Retzers. These are all guys that I've known, loved, worked with, and been very close to, and that are no longer here. Those guys are what it's all about. If I can accomplish being a fraction of what any of those men were, then I'll consider my life a success. Those are the guys we should all strive to be like. All right. Excuse me for that. SM Gonzo, are you an Iowa or ISU fan? I'm an Iowa fan, but I'm not like the ISU assholes that want to see Iowa lose every time. I find that most of them are that way. To me, I want Iowa State to win every game except against Iowa. I've always been a Hawkeye. Pink Shamrock 444, briefs or boxers? Neither, sweetheart. Let your mind settle on that one. 127 Fitness, is there a quote or mantra that keeps you focused and or fires you up? Also, how many rest days do you take per week from your PT? Quote or mantra? There really isn't. I don't have like a this too shall pass, inscribed on my inner thigh that I look to when I'm, wait, what am I doing? No, there really isn't. To me, I what keeps me focused is my goals. I know why I'm here. Whatever I'm doing, it's calculated. Like if I'm in the gym, it's for a reason. So that's what I'm focused on. That's what fires me up is being successful, accomplishing my goals. And so that's what keeps me fired up and motivated for that. How many rest days do I take per week? Probably more than you'd think, 3 or 4, sometimes 2. But, I'd say I work out 3 or 4 days a week. But I stay active with, working with dogs and, getting in a bite suit and, just things around here, just living at kind of a ranch style lifestyle, being outside and, doing things is a little, you stay a little more active than you do living in a fucking subdivision. So, but yeah, I take 2 or 3 days off a week, most weeks, sometimes even more than that. But, Rich LA 44 suggestion, barbecue show in the future. Fuck yes. That's in the works with Animal Planet. No, I'm kidding. Why would it be with Animal Planet? It's disgusting. Anyway, is there a show in the future? I hope so. If you know anybody, why don't you make that shit happen? Rich LA44 suggestion. Brian Golden 3, what's the best purchase you've made for yourself under $100? Best book or 2 you've read? A piece of conventional advice you disagree with? Let's see. Best purchase under $100. Every fucking book I've ever bought. Honestly, to me, there's so much wisdom out there. And again, it's for thousands of years. Take advantage of that shit. People that have learned a lot of hard lessons or have been through some amazing things and have written about it, fucking read it. Like read. Best book or two you've read, that's impossible to pick. It really is. There's too many of them. I mentioned the two earlier in the last episode. Meditations and Self-Reliance, I think, are two that if I had to pick, I'd probably pick those two. But I also like the Book of Five Rings is pretty good in terms of bang for your buck. The Sun Tzu Art of War thing, I'm not going to necessarily jump on that bandwagon. Like, that has its place, but I think that's more specific and more microscopic than, say, Meditations or Self-Reliance is. But what is one piece of conventional advice that you disagree with most strongly? God, I'm glad you asked this question, because there is one and I fucking can't stand it. And that is, everything happens for a reason. I fucking hate that saying. I absolutely despise when I hear it, and it makes me pissed off when people use that as an excuse as to why something's happening. It's the inshallah, philosophy in the Arab culture of God willing. I don't subscribe to that, not even for a fucking second. And I don't think everything happens for a reason. And I think you'd be hard pressed to convince some people of some of the things that they go through with that there's a good fucking reason or any reason that happened. And if there is a reason, I'd like to know what that fucking reason is, because I'm probably going to disagree with whatever you think it is, because I hate it. I think it's too ambiguous. It leaves too much to the gods. And I don't buy it, it fucking drives me nuts. M. Briga 1, having worked in high-stake team environments, what's the biggest mistake you saw your new guys at a team make? Easy answer to this question, and that is not taking accountability for your fucking actions. I've talked about this before, and that's the biggest problem for employees, for children, for spouses, business partners, new guys in a team, you name it. When you fuck up, admit that you fucked up. Don't make a reason or an excuse as to why you fucked up that tries to justify it. Learn from it. Don't let it happen again to the best of your ability, and move the fuck on. Alexis_Machado, if you were to go back in time with the knowledge you have now, what would you have done differently pre-buds, during buds, while in the teams? Nothing. I'm happy with where I'm at, and everything I fucked up or learned the hard way taught me a good life lesson, and I learned from it, so I would not have done anything different. Scott_Flansbaum, HK MP7, I'm surprised SEALs use it. Seems like the round is too small. So the MP7, in my opinion, it's because it's similar to an MP5, but instead of shooting a subsonic pistol round, it shoots a round that is going to be a little more effective at punching through body armor. That would be my guess. I didn't write the rules on that. That's my take on it. Josh Coles, 24. What's your opinion on concealed carry? Should I carry it with a round chamber, safety on, off? Any home techniques to practice getting better with concealment? Yes, you should conceal carry. Yes, you should have it round chambered. You should not have a safety on your weapon, in my opinion. That's what the holster is for, and that's what your finger is once it's in your hands. In my opinion, don't conceal carry until you are competent enough to do all of those things. Home techniques, practice getting better. Yes, just practice. Wear normal clothes and see what it looks like. Wear it around. Try drawing, sitting, standing, turning, drawing and turning, things of that nature. Make sure it's unloaded again. And practice. Practice makes perfect. The Champ Davis, what do you think the greatest military leadership trait is? Accountability. To me, it's you're hearing a theme, and it's for a reason. Be accountable. Any military leader that passes the buck and blames other people when things are fucked up is a shitbird, in my opinion, and has no business being a leader. Devin_MN, if any, what was your experience like working with SWIC? Again, those guys are great. Sorry for the repetitive question. Skunkworks, what was the last thing you were wrong about, and what did you learn from it? What was the last thing I was wrong about? Today? This week? Because I'll tell you, I'm wrong more than I'm right, Skunkworks. What did I learn from it? Whatever I fucked up, how to not fuck it up again. I am wrong all the fucking time. That to me, everybody is fucking wrong on a regular basis. And the people that try to never admit that they're wrong are the fucks that are really irritating and don't ever grow as an individual. Because we all mess up, and I'm probably one of the worst at it. So, yeah. Hell on the Trail. If you had to go to war with one horror movie character, such as Jason, Freddy, Aliens, Predator, as an ally, Who would you choose and why? I'm going to have to go with Predator. Freddy and Jason are a couple of fucking... I mean, they're pussies in my opinion by comparison to Alien and Predator, which, let's be honest, they're both aliens. But Predator was a bad motherfucker. You know, that was one movie that kind of stuck with me growing up in the 80s was that movie. That was a bad son of a bitch, and he's fucking huge. I mean, he could grab Freddy and Jason by their fucking sacks and smash them together and beat each other to death with each other. So I'm going to go with Predator. Hell on the Trail asks, hottest 80s chick. Cindy Crawford, Christy Brinkley, Ellie McPherson, Heather Locklear, or Olivia Newton-John. I'm going to say none of the above, and I'm going to go with Call Sign Charlie, Top Gun. I don't, you know, again, growing up in the 80s, I loved that movie, and she was a hottie. Yeah, that's what comes to mind. L_dribbles. The FOSS 4, will CBD pop on a drug screen? If you were active duty still, would you be able to consume it without consequence? We get this question all the time. Okay, there's the cover your ass with, you know, there's technically, and by trace, I mean like minimalist trace amounts in there, not enough to really even register, or it's so low that it doesn't. I have not heard of anybody, at least with our product, ever having any issues. Now, having said that, can I guarantee it? No, I'm not going to. If I was on active duty, would I take it? Yes, I would, and would not worry about it. Now, if you take it and you pop, as long as you're not the one smoking the left-handed cigarette, you know, I don't know what to tell you. It's not. You know, there's an FAQ section that has kind of cover your ass verbiage on the Trico Supplements website. I encourage you to read that by the lab and the analytics from each batch that's tested, and it says all of what's in it. I encourage you to reference that. But yes, to answer your question, if I was on active duty, I would take it and I would not worry about it. But that's the gist. All right, D Marty 3192. Actually, that's another CBD question. To answer your question, if your dog has chicken allergies, then this has actually, the chicken flavor is derived from chicken. So sorry about that. When our human version comes out, I would just give him that. J_K0N. Mike, how do you manage traveling with work and full-time parenting? It's tough. It's really tough, actually. Do your best to stay involved as best you can while you're traveling. And this is all advice I'm telling myself also. You know, call, you know, as much as you can. I mean, there's times where I just can't, you know, I'm wrapped up in things and you know, when it's a good time to call, I don't talk to my kids, and that sucks sometimes, but, do the best you can. Be conscious of the fact that, you know, you've got to try to take an active role in being there and talking with them. Try to do your best with. One of the things I've always thought was neat was trying to bring them something and not spoiling them with some big elaborate bullshit. Something that's kind of a little memorial, memorabilia, keepsake. I mean, it could be a postcard, it could be a sticker, a fridge magnet, just something. Let you know you're thinking of them when you come back. You know, that they can collect and you know, tell them about things that you did while you're gone, and you know, help your spouse out so that they're not dealing with everything you know, by themselves. Again, that's good advice for me. But that's my take on it. Subtle t-shirts. What's the one thing you would tell the 18-year-old you? Stop being a pussy. No, I'm kidding. Take accountability. Again, you hear this all the time. Fucking take accountability. I feel like I've always done a pretty decent job at that, but I've learned even better since coming in, you know, since being 18 to doing an even better job at that. Also, if you're not sure, fucking do it. Don't have any regrets. You know, you hear the adage, you know, you don't look back on your life and wonder, you know, what if I had tried that? It'd be better to look back and be like, well, I fucked that up, or I didn't make it, or whatever. Big Sticks 206. All right, so I've lived with chronic pain for the last 11 years. It's debilitating. I'm almost off all opiates. I'm starting to realize how powerful the mind really is, and wondered if you could give me any tips on dealing with chronic pain on the mental side. Yes. There's 2 books, Book of 5 Rings, which I already mentioned earlier, and there's another one called Zen and the Martial Arts. I don't care if you're a martial artist or not. The power of positive thinking and how powerful your mind is wonderfully depicted in that book, and I highly, highly recommend it. Donovan_Sly, what's your all-time favorite movie actor? Favorite movie is impossible. Actor, honestly, fucking Tom Cruise. I'm sounding like a Top Gun lame ass right now, but that's what came to mind. Fucking Tom Cruise. Call me an asshole. Same gentleman, Donovan_Sly. I'm in college majoring in history. Curious what your favorite story or aspect of American history. I'm going to have to go with the Revolutionary War for obvious reasons, but to me, that's when we flipped the British off and said, fuck you, we're going to do our own show. And, to me, I don't know how it could be anything other than that, honestly, but that's what I like. John Anthony 70_. I've been burning the fuck out of ribs. What type of ribs do you cook? Prep, blah, blah, blah. 275. If you're using beef ribs that are from regular grocery stores that have, less meat than my fucking eyebrows, then that's why you're burning them. Use from the plate ribs, like from a purveyor that's going to give you some, 2 inches of fucking marbled ribeye meat on top of those beef ribs. Joe Blank 7, Mike, your thoughts, experience with CCT guys. In this follow-up question also, how were you able to keep the family happy being gone for long periods of time? The CCT guys, that's combat control, Air Force guys. They're awesome. We worked with one in Iraq, and he was a lifesaver, literally. Saved our ass more than once. Hats off. That guy's a fucking saint. How were you able to keep your family happy being gone for long periods of time? I wasn't. I should have done a better job at that, and that's just the reality of it. It's a tough balance to walk. And again, the advice that I've learned the hard way is be more active, be more present, give more of a fuck. I don't care if you think you're giving enough of a fuck, you're probably not, and give more of one. 4east.peterson, do you bow hunt? If so, what species and where usually? What's your favorite hunting experience? And if you don't, then what's wrong with you? I don't fucking know. You tell me. I don't hunt. I don't bow hunt. I think it's cool, and I'm respectful as fuck of Cameron Haynes and the guys that do that. To me, that is fucking hunting, and that is respectable as shit. So I don't have a species or where I hunt. I don't have a favorite hunting experience because I don't fucking have any. Why I don't hunt is actually very simple. One, I've not really been introduced to it in a way in which it's ever suited my fancy. And number two is that I don't have a problem with it. I just don't see much point in it. I'm not saying people shouldn't. For me personally, it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I'd like to try bow hunting or at least archery to some extent to see what it's like. But it, to me, like with us living in the country where I can get the food that I need out doing it, that's what I do. I'm not naive to where that comes from. I mean, the reality is you're killing animals. For those people that say, well, I don't hunt because I just go to the store and get it, like, motherfucker, that's less humane. Frankly, it's not a humanity thing. It's just, maybe it's an efficiency thing. Fuck, maybe I'm lazy. I don't know. It's just, my goals are not to be the best hunter I can be. It's, to do what I do with dogs and be successful at what I'm being successful at. And the dedication that it would take for me to be a competent, good bow hunter where I was actually able to do it. Like, I think it's fucking cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not at a point where I have the time or am willing to make the time to accommodate that right now. So that's what's fucking wrong with me, Captain Peterson. Just kidding. Amy Weaver _1, where the fuck did we go wrong between our grandparents' generation and today's generation that brings their moms to job interviews? What the fuck happened? That's a good question, Amy Weaver. I don't know what the fuck happened other than I think it's a combination of political correctness, of not wanting to hurt people's feelings. And that's really what it boils down to, right? Is that, political correctness is, in its essence, is not wanting people's feelings to get hurt. And when that happens, the game changes, everything changes. And so that transfers over to your kids. And when kids are raised thinking that they're the priority, when kids are fed before their parents, I think that's a fucking mistake. I think your kids should learn that, guess what? This isn't about you, asshole. I'm going to teach you to be a good child, and I'm going to teach you the life lessons you need to learn, but you're not the fucking top of the hierarchy here. And I think that's where we've gone wrong, is that we've treated our kids like you hear it all the time. Parents, I sacrifice everything for my kids. Like, okay, but not to a point where it's a detriment to your fucking marriage or a detriment to the upbringing of that child. And while the intentions are there, that adage of the road to hell is paved with good intentions, I think is supremely apt in this instance, is that most people think they're doing the right thing with their kids, just like most dog owners, Trico's TeamDogOnlining.com, is they think they're doing the right thing by spoiling the shit out of their dogs, and they're not. They're teaching their dogs and their children to be entitled, spoiled little ungrateful motherfuckers. And when you are raised with that mentality, now that's born and bred into you essentially. That's the nurture part, where you as a parent have fucked that up if you've got an ungrateful little prick for a child. And I think that's where we've gone wrong, is that we give too much of a shit about people's feelings, including our kids. We want to be their best friend and not teach them how to be productive adults, and instead turn it into a fucking popularity contest. And that's why kids, so many of them, I think, act the way they act, where they're taking their moms to job interviews and parents are siding with the students and not the fucking teachers, things of that nature. Samarjot03, what's the hardest thing you've done since leaving the military? Waking up. No. Building a business has been a challenge, a real fucking huge challenge, but a great one. It's a rewarding challenge, but being an entrepreneur is hard. It's not for most people. If you I need X number of dollars per month and I need this planned out, you're going to pivot so many times, you don't even know which fucking direction is which. And you got to be flexible, and you got to be dynamic, and you got to be willing to adapt. And for me, that's been the hardest thing professionally. Personally, raising kids. Raising kids is fucking hard. It's really hard, and it's hard for all of us. Being a parent is a constant struggle, and I always remembered, when my kids were real young, thinking like, God, I can't wait till they're this age so that I don't have to deal with wiping their ass. Well, I can't wait till they're this age. I don't have to cut their food anymore. Can't wait till they're this age. I don't have to give them a bath, like they can actually bathe and dry themselves off, But the reality of it is that from the day they're born and until you take your last breath as a parent, it doesn't get any fucking easier. It just is different. It's a struggle. It is very hard. Personally, that's unquestionably been what's tough. Bird Dart 12 asks if I can share any personal stories about sailors, soldiers that have fallen and died in service. It gives me a good idea of, I think, at some point or occasionally I'll do a kind of a dedication episode where I talk about a couple of guys and tell their stories and try to do right by them. So, maybe we'll look at doing that. BGA_29, Mike, how did you find your purpose in life? Keep searching. And that's not a smart ass answer, is that if you don't feel like your life is purposeful, keep searching until you find that. And that's how I did it, is that I kept looking until I found, I wouldn't call it my calling. It's just what I love and what I feel like I'm pretty good at, which is dogs and teaching people how to work with dogs, and run my mouth on a podcast. So that's how I found it, is I just, try new things. You're never going to learn or figure out what you like by sitting on your hands and staying comfortable in whatever rut you're in life. So get out there and try new shit and figure out what you want to do. D. Real, what's your thoughts on conservative college students' opinions being censored on college campuses? My thoughts on anybody, not just conservative, anybody's thoughts and opinions, student or otherwise, being censored is irritating. Again, if it's a business, they have the ability to do what they want. But to me, I don't really consider, even though colleges technically are businesses, they're institutions. And I think that those are the most important and most fragile institutions in our society in terms of balancing this country out and not having it slanted either way. And don't get it twisted. I don't think if the shoe was on the other foot and they were overwhelmingly conservative and they were slamming liberals, I wouldn't want that either. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be the yin to the yang. It can't just all be super hardcore right-wing people. It can't be all bleeding heart liberal folks either. So I don't dig it. Hoss.Anderson, tell us more about you on a personal level, family hobbies, sports interests, favorite teams. What do you do in your downtime? Lightning round on who is Mike. I dig it, Hoss. Hobbies, sports, interests, things of that nature. I mean, I'm kind of an open book that way, and I talk about the things where that's the case. I mean, I love the barbecue. I like to play guitar. I like to shoot. I like to work out. I like to grapple. I like to travel. I love to eat fucking good food, and that's whether it's a Domino's pizza by myself or $200 steak, and everything in between. What do I read in my downtime? I'll tell you, well, sports interests, favorite teams. I like combatives. I like wrestling. Anything where you see perseverance at a whole nother level. I really like. I love the Olympics. I'm not going to get into sports teams. Who gives a shit, honestly. What do you read in your downtime? This is one that I like to read things I'm going to get something out of. I'm not a fiction guy, generally speaking. I like to read philosophy books, strategy books, business books, history books, training books in terms of psychology and training theory as it relates to animal behavior. Again, things that I'm going to learn shit from is what I like. How do I relax? I don't even know what that is. No, I'm kidding. I like to go to restaurants. I like to travel / camp. I love going to national parks and places of exceptional natural beauty and taking it in and enjoying it. And I like going to movies too. Yeah. So that's I like sitting by a fire when it's cold. All right. Brian Casesa, how are you so mentally prepared for buds at such a young age? Short answer, I wasn't. I think I was too dumb to quit. Too naive, maybe. I honestly, I think, in all seriousness, I think that's honestly a lot. It's largely genetic. I don't think it's a nature versus nurture. I think it's both. But to me, there's an element of mental toughness that you either have or you don't. If it's there, it can be harnessed and built and fortified and raised in terms of its stress threshold. But I think I was very fortunate to have some of that from a genetic aspect. And then again, I had a very good, strong, supportive, healthy family that was always there for me. Jay Strick, 2848, CIA is often depicted as untrustworthy and having ulterior motives to the military by the media, be it books, movies, etc. That being based on the work you or others know in the soft community have done with them, how true is this reputation? I'm just going to say one thing. You won't catch me engaging in any business with them. That's all I'll say. Scott.Williams77, when will Trico's franchises start? Will be starting in Canada. Possibly. Still working out the issues on franchises and trying to figure out how to go about that the best way. But just stay posted. I know I've been saying that. A_Hildebrandt, do you have any advice for a graduating college student who is completely unsure of what they want to do, but is a hardworking son of a bitch? Yes, I do. Go serve something other than yourself. Again, whether it's the military, civil service, fucking whatever, boys and girls, just go do something. And until you figure out what it is that you want to do, put that time to use while you're trying to figure that out in a positive manner by serving above yourself. Rick, 1285. When choking oneself, should the hand position be right over left or left over right? Asking for a friend. Yes. Triken, if you had to join another branch of service, what would it be and what MOS? Marines, 0300. No, actually, there would be some that would be on the list. That or, honestly, I would probably the Army, and probably a chef. Nah, fuck, I don't know, honestly. There really isn't. If I had to join another branch, I'd figure out a way to get back in the Navy. I fucking love the Navy. I'm proud of what I did. I loved what I did, and I wouldn't change it. Moy_2121, do Bud's trainees get weekends off? Yes. Not a lot of downtime. You do get weekends and nights after, about 7 or 8 off, but it's not really off in terms of like, okay, punch the clock and now nothing. You're cleaning your gear, you're stretching, you're fucking cleaning your room, you're getting your shit ready, you're starching uniforms. So, I mean, it's like, it's not really downtime in the traditional sense. It's just time where you don't have instructors up your ass, but pretty much all your time is either spent recovering or, getting your shit ready. The big dog, aside from family, what's the main reason people leave the military? To me, there's not really a textbook answer to that. Everybody's different. Everybody has different reasons. For me, it was a combination of family and my lung condition and in that. So, but that's totally specific to the individual. I don't know that there's a big or a primary reason. A Tribe Called Steve, at what point did your mentality turn from I'm not sure I can do this to I'm never quitting? I started out with the I'm not quitting, and I would encourage everybody to do that too. Just you got to have a good attitude going into it. If you don't, what the fuck? Why not? Like do or do not. There is no try. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Go in there. Don't think you can do it. Go in there saying I'm going to fucking do this. SW or S White 1509. I've heard you mention your diet's pretty much eat as clean as possible. I'm assuming it's basic stuff like meat and greens. My question is, do you count calories, all that other stuff? No, I don't. I eat when I'm hungry, generally speaking. I do listen to the fitness podcast, and that will tell you everything. But no, I don't count shit, other than how many fucking chicken wings I've downed so far. No, I'm kidding, but no, I don't abide by that, generally speaking. All right. Have I ever, TWT Bulls, have you ever tried minimalist footwear? What's your favorite shoes to wear while working dogs all day? No, I don't wear minimalist footwear. I like footwear that's comfortable because I stand all fucking day or a lot of the day. What do I wear working dogs? If I'm in a bite suit, I'll usually wear New Balance cleats. They're like a kind of a soccer cleat. Otherwise, just a good pair of like trail runners is good to go. That's usually what I wear most of the time. What's your take on immigrants serving in the military, specifically in SW? I'm an immigrant. This is OG_Rudd. I'm an immigrant and I want to enlist when I get status. Standing by to get some. Fucking A, OG_Rudd. My take is fucking bring it. I think it's a great policy, and in my opinion, that would be a fast track, in my opinion, for immigration status. Is you want to be a citizen, join the fucking military, and you're a citizen. I think it's a great policy, and I love it because it speaks volumes to the people that are willing to serve, such as yourself, and it also instills, in my opinion, a really good foundation of what it means to be an American, and I think it's fantastic. Vote for Pedro M. Favorite cut of meat, Wagyu ribeye end cap, hands down. Mostly Charlie, a little Jen. Who did you meet during your time in service that challenged you the most, produced most growth and change, had the most difficult time getting along with? My best friend, or one of my two best friends, Shane. We wanted to fight. I wanted to fight him when I first met him. I hated him. And I'm actually going to bring him on the podcast. Owner of SH9 Edgeworks. Check it out. Makes really good knives. But I fucking hated him. He was the biggest challenge because he was a total prick. He was an old guy. He's 7, 8 years older than I am. And we hated each other. We almost fought a couple of times. And then we went on a road trip together and became best friends. And that was fucking over 20 years ago, right at 20 years ago. So there you have it. Last question. MKIMIB. Mike, can you share some thoughts on raising kids at an early age with important values and principles, such as honor, work ethic, perseverance? There is a reason I'm saving this A for last and B, asking it again or answering another one, even though I've already answered it, essentially, is because I feel that it is that fucking important and needs to be reiterated. All of those, honor, work ethic, perseverance, are important. And I'm going to restate that you have to lead by example, whether that's raising kids, whether that's owning a business, whether it is doing anything in life, is that you have to be either the change or the example that you want to either see or set. And if you're not that, then fuck you, frankly, to expect that out of anybody else. You can't expect loyalty and be a disloyal, backstabbing fuck. You can't expect honesty and be a lying, two-faced son of a bitch. You can't expect a hardworking, perseverance-driven attitude when you're a lazy fat fuck that quits at a moment's notice when things get a little bit hard. My point is that if you don't have the ability to demonstrate that, then you're never going to be able to instill that in somebody. You have to do that. Do it for your kids, do it for your comrades, do it for your teammates, do it for your coworkers, do it for your spouse. Be the kind of spouse you want to be married to. Fuck Dr. Phil. You can come and talk to Dr. Mike on Mic Drop. I'll tell you how it is. But that's the gist of it, is that, to instill that, you have to demonstrate it, plain and simple. Like, if you're not doing that, again, choke yourself, but that's where it starts. And then number two is that with all of these things, that now after you're demonstrating them, that you're trying to instill them, is you've got to set them up for success. Okay, so once you're demonstrating it, now to instill it is that how you set them up for that is that you're going to let them get into situations and then also advertently put them into situations where they're going to struggle, where or you can anticipate that they're going to fail, or that they're going to get their fucking heart broken, or that they may be injured. Not seriously, don't let them jam a fucking fork into an outlet, but let them learn some lessons the hard way, because those are going to stick. Those are going to teach them that I don't always get to win. Don't give them a fucking participation trophy. That's one of the areas we've gone wrong also, is that, too many kids think that, well, I'm here, I should get something. Motherfucker, no, that's not the case. That's not how it works. So that's how it has to be, is that you have got to be able to demonstrate it, and then you've got to be able to scale it and put them in positions and environments and situations where they're going to learn that stuff. Whatever the things are that are important to you, that's what you need to work on and try to instill them, again, by demonstrating and then putting them in that situation. Lastly on that, be positive and reward them for those things. It can't just be, a school of hard knocks, like you're going to learn the hard way and your reward is not getting fucked with or punished. No, pay them for a job well done. And I mean that figuratively. Is that, set boundaries, don't be their best friend, but give them goals to achieve. And when they do, there's something that they're getting out of it. Use that positive reinforcement. To me, that is the gist of raising good kids, and just people in general is kind of that step-by-step process. Explain things to them, on top of it, almost like a debrief after the lesson learned. But that is my last question for this round. I know there was some questions that I did not answer, and I apologize. Some of them are repetitive. Some of them are just a little bit beyond the scope of this Q&A. I will do these regularly. Love the questions. Keep them coming. Again, I don't have all the answers, but I have all of the answers that I think make sense, and I'm happy to sit here and provide them for you. You need help training with your dog? Go to Trico's Team Dog online, MikeRitland.com. Sign up for the online training. Check out our Trico supplements, CBD pet oil. More importantly, don't get your feelings hurt. The swear words that I use, the advice that I offer, it comes from a good place, and I'm trying to help you not get your fucking feelings hurt, because I think that's the biggest detriment to our society. So, as always, thank you for listening. I appreciate the hell out of the support that you guys have shown me. I am truly humbled by it. I can't thank you guys enough for your continued support, and it gives us the ability to bring you interesting guests and the content that I do really enjoy bringing you guys. So if you're pissed off, good. Keep coming back for more, and I'll continue to do so. And until next time, this is Mic Drop.